website right now and download my free course on alternate picking mastery. It contains 5 essential exercises that will take you to alternate picking mastery faster than you can imagine. And then I've included my method of how to lay out a practice plan in just 1 to 2 minutes that will absolutely boost your results like nothing you ever tried before. So go download it right now. It's free. Hey! Many people say to me, I would like to do all the things you say, Klaus. I would like to, practice in this way, use all the methods, the strategies, but I just don't, I can't get around to doing it. I lack self-discipline, right? And I've been studying self-discipline for years, but because I couldn't find a definition of it, what it really is. We know how it looks. That's what people say. What's this self-discipline? Well, it's the ability to push yourself to do something that you don't feel like in the moment, right? But how do you do that? How? But nobody can tell you that. They can just tell you should, and you should do this, and then you can, talk like this to yourself. But there's no real definition of what self-discipline really is until now. Until this video. Because here's what it is. It's simply a matter of pain, basically. When you were living in nature, you didn't need self-discipline, right? Cavemen, they just, if you're hungry, you go hunting. You have a natural motivation to do that. You don't have to push yourself to go hunting when you're hungry, right? So the natural urges of the body, just if you're thirsty, you seek for water, right? It's so simple. If you're cold, you seek shelter. So all the natural urges of the body drives you to do stuff. So motivation is never a problem. But then, we started farming the land and we had to think about the winter coming. So you had to do stuff now that had, an impact like 3 or 4 or 6 months from now. And you had to act on that now. So instead of acting on a natural urge in the body right now, hunger, right? I have to go do something because I have that tension in my body, then you have to act on an abstraction about the future in your head. That's where self-discipline comes in. You want to be, the guitar player of your dreams, right? I hope, because it's a fun journey, and you can. And so you have to act on something. You have to build your skills today, and sometimes it's like, I'm just, what I'm doing today has absolutely nothing to do with where I want to go because I'm just practicing stupid little patterns and, simple chords, and I want that instead, right? So sometimes, if you really want to go for it, you have to use self-discipline because sometimes you feel like it and sometimes you don't. And if you have that ability, what we call self-discipline, which is not really an ability, but if we have that as well, then we will have a consistent way of acting, and then we will absolutely get to our destination. So you have to provide that push of the urge inside the body. And what is that urge? Of the caveman wanting to go hunting because he's hungry? It's 2 things. It's the need to eat, and it's the need to not die. So there's an inbuilt fear of dying in everything. Like you're thirsty. In that thirst, you have that you want to drink, so you want to get there to the river, whatever, where you can drink. But there's also an away from. I don't want to die of thirst, right? So you have to provide that pain. And that's the first thing that you need in order to have self-discipline. You need to know that it's a prerequisite. It's not a mistake. You shouldn't always feel good about doing something. Most people, some people at least in the Western culture, we're brought up with that if it doesn't feel good, you shouldn't do it, right? But it's actually a fact of modern human life that you have to learn to push through these things in order to have a good life, in order to expand your life. And if you can't, all you can do is react to the pain of, you gotta go to work unless you won't get paid and you have to move because you'll be thrown out of your apartment or your flat or whatever. You'll lose your house. So it's all kind of like the lowest, right? And if you want to develop magical skills on this instrument, you have to be aware of the pain of not doing it. Aware of the pain of what will happen if you don't make those little breakthroughs. And that's what I call it, rather than self-discipline. You have to learn to break through. Because that's what you do all the time. Like the caveman who has an internal urge, you develop an urge that is based on the fact that you know that you cannot, develop extraordinary skills and have that magic in your life if you do not break through on a regular basis. And breaking through means coming home from work and going, ugh, and then remembering, I want magic. I want that extraordinary life. I'm breaking through this, right? You remember the pain of not getting there. You remember the pain of standing, by the end of your life. Look at your grave right now in your mind and think, and on your gravestone it says, he never amounted to anything. He never really developed any skill. He wanted so many things, but he just didn't get them because he couldn't break through. That's how it is. That's what happens. Sorry to really create such a bleak image, but that's what you remember when you get home from work and you go, ugh, right? If you were hungry in that moment, you would go hunting, but there's no hunger. You go to the supermarket, you go to the fridge, right? You pull up some food. We're so comfortable right now, so we've forgotten about those urges, really. Of course, we have them still. But you have to create the urge of wanting to practice, even though there's also an impulse in your body that doesn't want to practice. And that impulse, that urge, comes from remembering what it is that you want and what will happen if you don't get it. The regret, the looking back and say, okay, my life didn't become about that. I didn't develop those skills because I didn't break through. And you have to break through if you want those skills on a regular basis. Sometimes you're so passionate about it and you still don't feel like practicing when you come home, but you're so passionate about your idea, so you just go do it anyway. But in those moments where you're not passionate, you have to remember that the ability to create something magical, those amazing skills, comes from the ability to break through inertia, breaking through when you don't feel like it, and saying, okay, that's the moment. This is the moment. This is your test of whether or not you want those skills. When you come home from work, you don't want to do it, or you sit on your couch and you say, oh, I should be practicing, but I don't. That decision you just made there of just staying in the couch, that's the decision to not develop the skills. That's the decision to not have that magical life. That's the decision to not go where you want to go. And that illusion that I can do it tomorrow, or I'll do it in a minute, you won't do it tomorrow. Maybe you will, but it won't be a compensation for what you didn't do today. It's an illusion. And every time you make those little choices, you don't break through. Because you don't have a natural urge to go practice. The caveman doesn't want to practice guitar. He just want to eat as much as he can, be as comfortable as he can. He don't want to do that. But you have, with your mental, emotional, spiritual capabilities, you have to remember what it is that you want. And then you have to, own that down to just that little second where you make the decision and say, this is what I want. So you get up, you do it. Because you want it, right? You remember. And you remember the pain, which is very important, of what it will feel like if you don't get those skills. That's self-discipline. And people who are also, always seem like they're very self-disciplined. Some people are lucky to have had parents who instilled this in them, where there was no discussion. We need to do this. And we saw our parents, so we had this feeling that that's very important. It's so important to just, if we know it's good for us and if that's where we want to go, then that's just what we do. So it's a pattern in the mind. There's no discussion. There's no like, oh, I can do it tomorrow. What? Are you crazy? Do it tomorrow? Oh, that's loser behavior, whatever we heard, right, in our childhood. And so some people are extremely self-disciplined when it comes to working out or when it comes to eating right or whatever. But very few people are very self-disciplined about developing their skills on this instrument because, but some are. Some were actually brought up in an environment where there was no mercy. We just do that. That's what we do. Just cancel the evaluation, right? And that's another little trick I want to give you before I go. Cancel the evaluation process. If you decided that you wanted to go practice when you come home from work, then that's what you do. As soon as you start, oh, maybe it's better for me because I'm hungry, so I don't learn as much. If I'm hungry and I start trying to practice, then I won't learn as much or as fast as if I'm, satiated. Or I just need to relax a little bit because just shut the up, right? You cancel that evaluation and go do it. Cancel it and go do it, right? So that's a very important thing, to practice canceling that evaluation, and always, most of the time, react and act on something you decided in the past, because that's when you can make the right decisions, right? The day before, see, I would like to practice when I come home. I would like to do this and this. And then act on that plan and cancel out the reevaluation of your plan as you go through the day. Also, there are other really cool little tricks you can use, like, practice for 1 minute when you come home, so you break through, but you don't break through to 1 hour of practice. You just break through to 1 minute of practice in your mind, but then you get momentum. But it's so much easier to make that decision in the moment when you know that your plan is just to practice 1 minute. But, so there's a lot of little things, but look into it and work with it. Take 2 steps back and work on getting more self-discipline or breaking through inertia. If you work on that instead of practicing, then you will be practicing much more. So start working on it and see the results you get.
Subscribe for more free videos. Do it. Do it now. Do it.